Okay, so we should add just a couple more things. Is we have their health, and we have the player has health, and so forth. Now, obviously, we don't want 500 every time we go into the combat. We want to drag that from like the manager. But how do we deal damage? And the easiest way this is going to be is we add another FSM, and this is just going to be very simple. We look at the animator, and we see look at the combos, and we can go here and bring all this stuff up, expand it so you can see it better, and we're just going to scrub along, and because it's a combo, we're going to actually do two hits. We're going to go right there. We want to add an event. We need to use send event, so it's Playmaker, and do damage. And then we're going to do the same thing right here. Send event, make sure it's spelt right or it won't fire, and then do damage. Hit apply. So what does that do for us, you ask? Good question. That allows us to do this. We have attacking, and we just made an event called do damage, right? So when that happens, what do we want to do? We want to get FSM game object because we need to know what we're attacking. So from our combat, let's take our target. It can be our target over here as well, and let's set int event int data to a damage amount, and if you want, you could also int random this amount, random int, give it a little bit of ability to jump around on, and let's go like 10 to 16 stored into damage. So we get the random amount, we send it off, or we set it, and then we can send it off. And we know on the player we have an event which is going to be on target called health and called on damage, and that's it, right? Same idea is on the player. When we add an FSM, I should go into the prefab for this. When we do the same thing, we could literally might as well use the same event, and we can get FSM game object literally exactly the same from the combat to the target, and now if we have an inventory or things, obviously our damage would fluctuate. In this case, I'm just going to also do a random int. For more in-depth stuff, I would just follow the Final Fantasy tutorial that I'm doing. It goes pretty deep into this stuff. The whole reason why I'm making this one is because this is a lot lighter. So we want to set the data, damage, send it to the target, to their health FSM, and it's also on damage. Now, of course, with the player, we also need combo. This guy here has No, he has 3 hits. So let's do the same thing. Let's give him 3 actual damages. Send event, do damage. Actually going to copy this one. And then come over here and go, okay, we're there. Send event, do damage. And then we're going to do the big kick and send event, do damage. Now because we're hitting them 3 times, I don't think it's very just to have the damage as high as I put it. So let's make it 15 to 20. No, let's make it 10 to 20. All right. Now, the other thing that we need, I'm not going to bother doing it with the player because we hopefully shouldn't die with the player, but we'll make sure we do it with this guy. Is on his health, if he's dead, let's change his layer so that we can't select him anymore if we're doing combat. So let's add a dead layer so we can set our layer to dead. And then what we need to do is actually stop our queue. So array list remove. We need 2 of those. All right, so on the manager, let's make sure that we are no longer on the queue. Type game object. We need our self, so we got to fill that. And also on the manager, the battle queue is also type game object and also be our self. So let's get owner, because we need to have a reference to ourselves, of course. All right. And then what we need to do is to I want the combat to stop. I don't want that timer to run anymore. We could send an event telling it to just stop, but I think it's going to be easier and a little more robust. Oh, that didn't go through. To disable combat altogether. To say, nope, it's done. And now, if we hit play and we zip over, we hit our guy, and if I go over to this gargoyle, I'm gonna hit my crappy attack button there. As you see, we obviously did damage. He attacked us, so let's attack him back. Oh, what happened there? What did we do? He's under done. Okay, let's look at the manager. What's the manager doing? The gargoyle is making a decision. Combat queue. It's probably the dead guy. So the dead guy is supposed to be doing an action. And that's what everything's stuck on. So let's get into, you know what, I think I did not name that right. You guys are probably watching that going, oh, you freaking idiot. Right? Combat queue, that's what it was called. I did name it wrong. And there is a way to tell if the battle is over, and we'll take a quick little look at that right after we finish testing this. So I'm gonna hit that, go there, knock that guy the hell out. And you know what? I bet their scale is down. Yeah, it is. That always happens to me. You always got to set their scales up. Okay, attack him. Oh, I didn't kill him this time. How's our player doing for health? We're at 417. Now, there's something very important that's happening here, and it's going to be our next step. Let's pause it before this happens again. If we look at our manager, right, we have our created guys here, and that's it. That's really all we have. Alright, so we need a way to tell when the fight's over. Alright, because now it's just sitting there. Alright, so there is something we need to add, obviously. And that's to this thing. So we have the created AI and we have the created players. They all have health. So what does that tell us? That tells us array list get next, and we're going to go through the created AI. Loop and done, kind of my staples for any kind of arrays or whatever. And what do we want to do during this loop? Well, everything has, so this is just the AI list, is get FSM int everything has a health, and everything has a health. All right, so we also need this. So as we loop through, the loop is the current, so the current has health. Now, we have int compare, and we're going to compare the current health. I spelled it totally wrong, but that's okay. And is dead, is less is dead, and is alive. Dead and alive. And we are going to have a little array here called living AI, and it's a type game object. So if it's dead, if living AI contains current, it is contained, we need to remove, else skip it. Remove and skip. So if it's skip, we're just going to go over to the next guy. If it's remove, array remove, living AI, current. And go over here. All right. This is actually better with Lisp, by the way, but we'll see if it works. And if it's alive, then again, I'm going to actually just copy and paste this guy here. Actually, we want to see if it contains, and if it does, if it's contained, we're going to skip. If not, add it. So if we skip, we can go here, change this one to add it, and now we can array add living AI add current. Go over there. All right. When we're done, array list count. Oh, not array list count. Array count, which actually I think it's called length with the arrays. So the living AI, the length, and int compare. Move to the bottom. If length is 0, players 1. If it's less, it's also, I guess, players 1, even though it's impossible. Still going. So still going, all we want to do is just wait. I'm going to do a next frame event. If you want, you can throw like a half a second wait. It's really not going to matter. And if players 1, let's send an event to the host, players 1. Right, just like that. And save that as a template as check AI death. And no. I'm not going to bother building the player version of that, but it's the same thing. Right, and then here we're going to run an FSM, and it's going to be check for death. Right, and then we need that event that we have called players 1, and we're going to stick it right here. There we go. So from here, now if we've won, right, because now we have this whole thing here, so we would want to load scene. In fact, let's just place it down here anyways. Only we're going to load scene 0. And then we can copy this guy. Has loaded. Oh, wait, no. That's not the right thing. So has the scene changed? If yes, we need to create a player, that guy there. Create object. Player, and at the position of player's world position. Store as the global, well, it doesn't matter because the player does that anyways. And this thing here can actually run that same logic as we have in our thing when we load into the game. If there's already a player here, get it and destroy it. But let's see if this works. So there's literally like tons and tons of more stuff we can actually add to this, but this is more or less a miniature version of the Final Fantasy version we have. Oh, you know what? Let's fix that one thing, because that's going to drive me nuts. Before we do this, let's go into who creates the buttons. Who's creating the buttons? Because those buttons need to be fixed. Right? Create actions. So we create the action. We do all this fun stuff. And I'm going to set scale on the created button to 1s. That should fix that. So now we come into here, we should see proper buttons, and we hit attack, we click, we go, do our damage. Stupid thing still lived with 1 hit point. Just couldn't finish him off, could we? Let's see if we can kill this guy in 1 hit. Nope, we couldn't do that either. I'm a failure. Alright, let's finish one off, because we don't want to be sitting there taking so much damage that we supposedly die, even though I don't have the logic in for the player dying per se. He'll play the animation, but that's about it. Come on, take him down in the 1 combo. Oh, stupid player. The position can need a little adjustment. Right, so we finished them, and it put us over here. It shouldn't put us here though. So when we get the player, okay. Alright, so let's go. This is supposed to be the global player. I don't know why I had it set like that. Why does this thing have a... No, we don't have a event like that. Alright, so let's just go into here. Let's take their health down to 1 or 5 or something. Take their speed super low. Combat player, take his speed way up. Let's test that again. Right, so now we get our attack. We go. Of course he dies because they only have 5 health now. We should have another attack, hopefully before these guys have their attacks, because we have the way higher speed. Oh, we didn't beat that guy to his attack though. Alright, so we come along. Oh, we still have, yeah, we're still going in the wrong spot. So, Second position of player. Why is that? Global player. And all right, you know what I think that is? I'm going to get rid of him. And I'm going to go into this guy and create a player, and we're going to put them, I don't know, 3 and 2 somewhere. I think that's the issue, is having that player already there starting off, I think, is the issue. So, and then you can tell, like the camera found us, right? That's obviously not an issue. If I was smart, I would have gotten rid of 2 of these guys or something like that. It would have been a lot quicker. Whatever. We could always fast forward this part. So he came in the right spot, but he still came in. So like I was saying, like there, which works. I mean, that technically works, but kind of like what we do here. In fact, we can almost just copy and paste this. That's kind of what we need to do here, right? When we go to create that player. So we've loaded the scene. We want to check if the player is null. And if he is null, then we can create him. If he's not null, don't destroy self, but let's destroy the player and then create our player at that position. All right, so let's go along here. Let's move this down to 1 because that will speed that up. And we knock them the hell out, and we're back here. Are we in the right spot though? And we still see 2. So there is still an issue there, no doubt about it. So this is what we're going to do. Actually, why would there be 2 if it's not being made? Oh, right. You know what we're doing? Like, we're creating that player. And we really don't want to be doing that on the start. Let's just make an event called create player. That will make a little more sense here in a second. Create player, and then we can copy this, only except we won't use the world position that we're at. We'll just use like 1 and 1. And then what we can do is from here, if we go here, if it's null, because this should only ever fire once. Because it never gets destroyed. It never, that FSM should never restart. Okay, so we're here. And because I moved the train, that's why it's there. Right, so we're here. So if we come along here, let's double check in the manager. We get the info. We get the position. I don't know why his position's like that though. It's just weird that it's doing that. Right, because this is supposed to be I probably need to reboot my Unity. I think that's what it is. Right, because that's going to be the global. Unless we have that. No, we don't have that on here, do we? We're not somehow, for some reason, storing that over. No. Right? Because this guy, because you notice how it's copying these values here from this guy. And that's not what we want to happen. It's supposed to be grabbing the player. I mean, if push come to shove, we'll just do a find player or whatever. You know, type of idea. Because it loads. Now, if we look down, it's going to say player, but it says that. And his position 0. See, that doesn't make sense. That to me means we probably need to reboot Unity. But I'm going to find a different way around it. Just going to find closest. Find closest player stores object. We'll even make a new variable. Get position of that. There. Screw you, system. It will do as I say. I said, no, you normally don't need to do that. It should work. I mean, why it's grabbing it there, I'm assuming it's because I need to reboot Unity. So we come into here, I get my attack. Come along here, we smack him, he dies. Oh, now we're here. Now, so, I mean, that worked. I mean, with that said, he shouldn't be here to start off with. And if he is, we would need a way to get rid of him. I mean, like I said, he shouldn't technically be here, right? Like if we prefab him, we have it like that, and then you make a timer, you know, like wait 2 seconds and create object. Our AI just get a random vector, you know, like, I don't know, 3 or 4 and 1 and 3 and 2 and 2. Call this a position and use P. Right. So now it's because normally you wouldn't necessarily have him starting off there, right? So he comes in, we do our attack. I don't know why there's 2 of them now. Why is there 2 of them? There's obviously something there that didn't reset. And that would be because we need to reset arrays. So we did an array list copy. I think the first thing we should probably do, array list resize. Let's clear. Let's clear the to create. That should be, let's put it below the, get that portion. Like that, because I mean, we should probably be resetting those. I mean, even the created AI. You know, like we don't want that stuff. Like they should pretty much all be reset, right? We want to be starting from 0. Oh yeah, see that's because he's thinking we're trying to destroy that, which it's not that. It's supposed to be the global. So I'm pretty sure it's a Unity reset for me. Now we should only have the one. Yeah, now we have the one. Oh, what did I click on? Q. Combat Q. There's 3 of us. See, we didn't clear that one either. There's a missing object. It's supposed to be taking its turn. So you got to make sure to clear all those arrays, so that everything just flows. You know, you go into battle, it's all new stuff. So anyways, but I think that's probably pretty good. I think you guys could probably figure out the rest from there. I mean, it's for the most part. I mean, for a lot of the little stuff like the health showing up on the health bar down there, and piles of other things, I didn't really want to get too far into that in this particular series. This one's said this is more of a additional to the Final Fantasy Remake series that I'm currently working on. The Final Fantasy Remake series is more or less the same system, slightly different, but uses a lot of the same ideas, same logic, same stuff, but is a lot more in depth and covers, you know, the inventory and the multiple characters and having the characters choose their spots and so forth. It's a pile of systems. The issue is the Final Fantasy system is so complex and so advanced. I wanted to make this system that's kind of a little more bare bones on that turn-based combat system part itself. So it's a much more simpler, faster pace tutorial series, but it's meant to be kind of almost a simpler version of the Final Fantasy. But if you want more of the in-depth stuff, going deeper and farther, follow the Final Fantasy series.